The night was not a night at all. No stars, no sleep, no restful fall. Just sterile lights and muted tones and whispered prayers in broken bones. She lay beneath a cotton sheet, her body small, her breath discreet, and I beside her, leaning low, afraid to ask what I must know. The doctors came with faces grim, with folded hands, and practiced hymn. She will need surgery, they said, a race against the thread so red. I nodded, though my fingers shook, my heart a turning open book, and every page was etched with her. The laughter, tears, and all we were. They showed me charts and scans and lines, spoke in the tongues of fault and signs. A failing valve, a troubled beat, a chamber weak, a pulse offbeat. She must go under, must go deep. We'll hold her breath while she's asleep. We'll open her to fix the flaw that time or fate or chance once saw. She didn't speak. She only stared at ceilings white, at air she shed. But in her eyes I saw the storm, the silent fear in patient form. And so the hours began to fade, as nurses came and sheets were laid, a drip, a check, a measured chart, and me just holding on to heart. I kissed her brow, so cold and damp, the room lit by a flickering lamp. I whispered things I couldn't say, when life was just a brighter day. Remember, I began to breathe, when we first danced beneath the eaves. You said you'd never let me go. I told you then I'd love you so. She smiled, but just the smallest line, a thread of silk, a sliver fine. Yet in that smile, I held the flame of every vow and every name. I held her hand, she held it back, and through the dark we found a track, not of escape, nor paths ahead, but one where truth and hope were wed. The dawn would come with sharpened steel, a blade to cut, a blade to heal. And though she slept, my soul was torn between the dusk and rising morn. I prayed not loud, but just enough to make the silence feel less rough. A childlike whisper, soft and shy, don't let this be our last goodbye. I told her stories through the night, of places we had shared delight, of oceans where we built our names, of forests echoing our games. I spoke of books she used to read, of how she cried when heroes bleed. I told her how she made me whole, how just her laugh could mend my soul. And she, though drifting off to sleep, let fall a tear she couldn't keep. It rolled across her silent cheek, a wordless vow, a promise meek. Then time, that thief of quiet love, moved on as if it knew enough. And morning came in nurses' shoes, with charts to mark, with names to use. They came to take her soft, not loud, a wheeled bed rolling through the shroud. I walked beside her, step for step, and prayed for things not written yet. She turned her head and met my gaze, 1,000 nights in one brief phase. Her lips said nothing, but her eyes breathed lifetime's worth of soft goodbyes. I watched them wheel her through the doors that sealed like ancient, waiting wars. And all the world went cold and tight, as if the sun forgot its light. I paced the halls for hours thin, with coffee cold and aching skin. Each second stretched to something wide, like grief that would not step aside. And in my head her voice replayed the things she whispered, things we'd made. The notes she left on fridge and bed, the little poems she always read. The ring she wore now sat with me, a golden circle's loyalty. And all I was, and all I had, was wrapped inside that band, so glad. The clock refused to move too fast. Each minute stretched, as if the last. And then they came with silent tread, their eyes unread, their faces red. She's stable now, the surgeon said. We fixed the flaw, we stopped the spread. It's early yet, but she pulled through. Now all she needs is time and you. And I collapsed into a seat, my chest a thunderous, softened beat. The world had shifted, not by much, but just enough for hope to clutch. I saw her then, so pale and still, but breathing yet, through strength and will. And though the wires still marked her skin, her spirit whispered, I'm not thin of fight, nor void of flame, but burned with love that won't be tamed. I took her hand and bowed my head, beside her bed, no longer dread. The worst had passed, or so they said. The knife had spared the thread she bled. And in that room of sterile white, I found again the start of light. She sleeps now, not in fear, but peace, a healing flow, a long release. And I beside her still the same, still chanting softly her sweet name. This is not over, not by far. There will be scars where the cuts are. But she is here, and breath remains, and we will walk through all the strains. I'll read to her the books she loves. I'll bring her stars, and skies, and doves. I'll joke the way she liked to hear, and paint her world with colors clear. For life is not just years or days, but moments held in quiet praise. And though the blade had come with might, it did not take her from my sight. She fought with silence, fought with grace, and now her soul lights up the space. She will awake, she will return, and we will build from what we learn. The hardest day is now behind. The morning after feels more kind, and I will wait, and I will be the strength she needs to heal and see. So let the world resume its spin, for now the hope runs deep within. She faced the knife, she bore the pain, and we will dance in spring again. My one and only. There are so many things I want to say to you, and yet, somehow, words never quite seem enough. But tonight, as I sit here with thoughts of you filling every corner of my mind, I feel the need to try. I want to pour out everything I feel, everything that's grown within me, since the moment you walked into my life and changed it forever. From the day our paths crossed, something inside me shifted. I didn't realize it at first, maybe I was too afraid to admit it, but I felt it. It was in your smile, which felt like sunlight after a long, cold night. In your laugh, which sounded like a melody my heart had been waiting its whole life to hear. You brought light to places in me I didn't even know had gone dark. Every day with you feels like a blessing I never saw coming. You've shown me what real love is, not the kind dressed up in fairy tales, but the quiet, steady kind that lives in shared glances, soft touches, and silent understanding. It's in the little things. The way you look at me when I'm not paying attention, how you always seem to know when something's wrong before I say a word, and the way your hand fits perfectly in mine, like it was made to be there. You've become my best friend, my peace, my home,